Monday morning, beautiful day. We've had some fantastic weather recently, and it's got a nice houses down this street. I've been checking out places because of looking at possibly getting an investment property, but I was talking to my cousin's other half yesterday, and yeah, he thought maybe it is a good idea for me just to wait and see what's happening with the actual property market, because once these JobKeeper grants sort of fall off, and you know, rental subsidies and all the sorts of things that seem to be happening to bolster the economy, once they sort of start being wound back a bit, which will probably start happening next month, I think you'll find that there'll be a few investors that'll be quite stressed getting and want to actually sell up, especially in a soft market like here. Maybe not so much in Townsville, it seems to be fairly strong, but because the market here is fairly soft, yeah, nice, got some nice places here. But yeah, over in Townsville, yeah, it may not be a big issue, but here I think there'll be a few people worried that haven't got people in their properties already, and it could just get worse until we get the air routes re-established for Cairns. It's going to be pretty tough here, so I've got an opportunity to buy something pretty cheap in the interim. We'll see anyway, but then I've got to worry about how it's going to affect all the finances and everything, but I've got plenty of losses I can pull out from the shares, so that should help quite a bit. Anyway, that was just by the by. This is yesterday I had a rather strange incident took place. It wasn't my neighbour downstairs, immediately downstairs, but I thought it was initially, and I heard this pounding on the door at around 6 o'clock last night, and this guy was screaming and pounding on the door, and then this woman started to freak out. She screamed in response, and so I went down and just looked out the back for some reason. I don't know why. I looked out my bed from my bedroom window, and I saw this guy. Actually, he was in the backyard of the ground floor flat, and he basically jumped over the fence. He scaled this fairly high fence. It's actually where the creche is. He went over there, and he went to where there's a business car park. He went into that area and just basically did a runner. I don't know what happened. Whoever was trying to break into this place, they think they gave up, and it might have been him, and he might just run away and worried maybe they'd call the cops or something. Well, I don't think the cops would bother turning up anyway, but I guess if he thinks there's a possibility, he might have freaked. I don't know what happened, I'm not quite sure, but it wasn't my immediate neighbour downstairs. He's been quiet, although I've still got to put a report into the body corporate today about what happened last Friday, or Saturday morning to be precise, at 2:30, with the music and the voices and what have you. But yeah, it makes me a bit wary about living there, because I don't know what sort of people we're talking about. There was 3 teenagers hanging around in the afternoon when I went to the supermarket. They were there when I left, and they were still hanging around when I came back, which would have been about an hour later. So I don't know what they were up to, but again, just wondering whether it's all connected. But I've got no idea, to be quite frank, but it just made me feel a bit ill at ease staying there, whether it's safe or not. Could be going downhill, but you never know, there might be some evictions taking place soon, and that would clear things up, but I don't know. I wish I had the phone number of the main guy on the committee, so at least have a chat to him about it, but I'll talk to the body corporate today anyway when I get back from what I've got to do. Taken up all day, unfortunately. Today's a write-off for me, but it is a nice day to get out at least. Yeah, I have to confess to one of my biggest mistakes I've ever made in investing was actually last year, and the mistake I made was not buying Tesla shares. They were about $145 last year, and I thought they were a little overpriced, and had to worry about doing a currency conversion, or a lot of other fees, because I'm in a different country, so there's a few extra hurdles to go through if you want to buy shares overseas. Can be done though, and as it turned out, it would have been a smart move because they basically went up tenfold in 12 months. I mean, gee, I didn't expect that. I knew that they were a good investment. I should have just gone with my gut instinct on that because I knew what I was talking about. I've done a lot of research on them online, and if you do know what's actually going on in the company, most people don't have that level of understanding. They have a casual look at it, but I've been checking out quite a few YouTube channels, and I had a pretty good idea that they had cutting edge technology, and they were way ahead of all other automakers, including EV makers. So they just really didn't have any competition, and they're going to basically just cream the internal combustion engine makers, like especially GM and Ford in America. They'll be history. I just don't see them surviving unless they make a radical switch to EV technology. I think they're going to just basically die a not so slow death. Latest news too is that because Elon Musk is working with one of the gurus of battery technology, Jeff Don, he's now looking at this new formula to battery and tweaking it, the metal battery without a cathode. I think it's pretty radical, but it's just it's not a solid state battery, but it's potentially could have performance that will hugely increase the range of a motor vehicle from, say, currently 400 miles up to about 700 miles. So we're talking about a substantial leap there. As they say in the video, what they'll probably do is just reduce the size of the battery pack to reduce weight and make the vehicle much cheaper, which will still be a big deal because the initial upfront cost of EVs is a problem, and it'll help solve that. But the other big thing about this technology is that it'll provide 500 watts per hour, which is just 100 watts above what Elon Musk regards as the minimum requirement for aircraft. So he's talking about a vertical takeoff aircraft that then cruises. We said supersonic, but I don't know about that. There's a few hurdles there if you try that, but he's a very ambitious man, Elon Musk. I don't know about that, but I do. The actual density of the batteries is really important. So if this technology can be perfected from the lab to the production line in the next year or two, it'll have a huge impact on EVs and make at least short-range aircraft, battery-powered aircraft, an actual possibility. No one's ever mentioned this, but I think one of the things that you could use with those type of aircraft is you'd actually drop used batteries with parachutes to depots and designated spots along the route of the plane to reduce the weight of the plane as you're going, because that's what happens with a conventional plane. The kerosene burns off, reducing the weight of the plane as your trip continues on. So especially for long haul flights, it's hugely important because the weight of the aircraft when it lands is much lighter than when it took off, because all the fuel's been expended. So this would be sort of like that, a little not quite as easy as just burning fuel, of course. You'd have to send the battery packs via parachute to predetermined depots that do recycling and recharging or whatever. But that is something no one's ever talked about, but I don't see why that couldn't work. Because if you're taking a load of dead batteries on the aircraft the whole trip, it doesn't make any sense. It's a dumb way of using your energy source. If it's spent, then I think the idea is to basically jettison it and provide a boost to the aircraft with lower weight to have to haul. Makes sense to me anyway. Maybe I've got this totally wrong, but it'd be interesting to see what people think about that. If it's a screwy idea, I don't know. I mean, I don't see how this couldn't work if it's an established route with an established recycling system. Should work fairly well, I would have thought. Anyway, just a thought. But yeah, very exciting. This article I just saw today is just saying that these, I think it's a metal ion battery they're talking about. I've mentioned this before, but it's it's not that far off being adapted, and we've got someone of the ilk of Jeff Don who really knows what he's talking about. He's the pioneer of one of the major pioneers of the batteries we use today. You've got to take it seriously, I think. There's plenty of traffic here. No lack of traffic on the road. They're all out to get me on the roundabout. Not a big fan of roundabouts as a walker. Yeah, looks so beautiful day. Absolutely stunning. Yeah, I have no regrets moving from Melbourne when I see a day like today. My cousin and her other half are coping okay, but they're not even allowed to visit friends. That's how draconian these shutdown laws are in Melbourne. So, you know, they're coping very well with it though. She gets out and goes to the hospital, so she gets a social life that way. But Glenn, her other half, he doesn't seem to. It doesn't worry him that much. He's coping okay, he reckons. So that's good for him. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you or entertainment or whatever, and either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.